Okay, we've done a speed run for arguments for God, so why not focus on one of them for a full-length video? Hey, Angel and Demon?
Hey, bitch!
You two can pick one for us. The fake it till I make it argument? No, please. Something more interesting than that.
What is the best argument for God's existence?
Who the fuck are you?
This may be a question that might have crossed the mind of many of you.
Yes, so now, who are you and what do you want?
I feel the best argument that we can use is a transcendental argument.
Oh, you want to run tag on Angel, Demon, and I? Well then, it's been a while, so I'm game. Now, there are several different versions of tag to go by. We're still not quite sure on which flavor of tag this guy's going to go with, but let's find out before we continue. Tag is short for Transcendental Argument for God. The shortest explanation of it is through modus ponens. If P is true, then Q must also be true. P is true, therefore Q must also be true. An example of this is like if a two-dimensional object has four equal sides and the angles that connect them are all 90 degrees, then it must be a square. This object fits the criteria, therefore it is a square.
Strictly speaking, the transcendental argument establishes something, say Y, as the necessary precondition for another thing, say X.
That is a version of tag, but states further that the only way to get thing X is if Y precedes it. The main issue with transcendental arguments in general is the acceptance of if P then Q. One has to demonstrate that Q is the only way to follow the premise P. Most of the time when it comes down to arguments, people will not demonstrate the premise, and thus the entire argument would fall apart. Now, our subject babbles on for quite some time, slowly, until he gives the actual argument he is trying to tell.
And so how can such an argument be used as an argument for God?
Well, one would have to start out by demonstrating how their particular flavor of God would be the only way to get to some inherent something. What tends to happen is the one making the argument just claims that if P then Q statement is justified with no reason for justifying it.
Well, essentially a transcendental argument for Christianity would aim to establish Christianity as the necessary precondition for the intelligibility of human experience.
Oh boy. Yeah, that would be one claim, sure. But another would be evolution itself and the genetic mutations that it selected us for a higher intelligence, which is explained by naturalism and evolution.
Essentially, the claim is that Christianity is the necessary precondition for every aspect of experience.
Well, at least you said it was a claim, so you have that going for you. You didn't say it was absolutely a fact. This pleases me. It shows the person recognizes that what they are saying is just a claim that isn't demonstrated to be the case. Now, that would be a bit of a challenge to pull off.
With that out of the way, we can now get to why I think this type of argument is the best argument that one can use in defense of the faith. Essentially, I think it's the best argument because it is the strongest kind of argument that one can put forth.
Now, I don't know about that. All the tag arguments I have heard have never attempted to justify the first premise. They just state it as if it was a well-known fact and left it there without backing up the criteria at all. Every time they do this, I just run the Teapotist argument, or TAPT, the Transcendental Argument for the Existence of the Celestial Teapot. And since we're bringing up the teapot, let us give the Teapotist prayer. I'm a little teapot, steamy and hot. I'm orbiting the sun. Try and prove I am not. Ramen. Blessed be the teapot, and blessed be the warmth within it. You may now continue, my tea leaf.
Because a transcendental argument for Christianity, if successful, establishes the rational and epistemic necessity of Christianity.
Incorrect. The teapot is the way, for it has bestowed upon us his divine knowledge and is evidenced in humanity by blessing us with the knowledge of how to create a vestige of him in worship. We just use it for making tea, and in doing so, we give glory to the blessed teapot with every sip.
Shut up, dear furry!
Heresy!
If the transcendental argument for Christianity is successful, then that would imply that things like rationality and knowledge, all the things that make experience coherent, presuppose Christianity for their possibility. That would imply that it is impossible to be rational or have knowledge without in some way assuming or presupposing Christianity.
No, just no. The blessed teapot fills all of these roles, and we are stronger, for we need not presuppose anything. The celestial teapot, blessed be his spout, as I have proven, has blessed humanity with the inherent knowledge of creation in his likeness, for he has contained within him all teas of all brews and all ways. It is a brewed fact of existence. Okay, I'll stop. Anyway, to be fair, he did say if he can prove it to be the case, so he must know that proving it to be true would be an absolute nightmare of a task. That being said, this feels like a long and drawn-out setup to give proof that the premise is actually justified.
And if that's the case, then it means that Christianity cannot be rationally denied, because to rationally deny anything would require experience and rationality to be intelligible and possible. But the argument would have already established that such things are only possible if Christianity is assumed.
And this is where the words turn into the word salad. The issue with this kind of thought is the Christian is rejecting any other explanation and ignoring them in favor of presupposing Christianity to get to Christianity. If you do this, of course you're going to end up with Christianity. It's where you started off with. But I can just simply say the celestial teapot, blessed be his spout, actually exists and has these abilities, and assume it has the ability to make things rational and justifies thought, mind, and reason, and the laws of logic depend on the blessed teapot, blessed be his spout. I could say that the teapot, blessed be his spout, solves the one and the many problem by saying it has the one teapot filled with all essences of tea that has been revealed to us, and all teas are to be revealed. I can say everything is tea, and we are just steeping in the brew of his existence. I can run down hours and hours of debate over this miraculous teapot, blessed be his spout, okay, I'll stop now, and argue as if it does exist, but can I demonstrate any of that?
No.
Exactly. But if I start presupposing a celestial teapot or a flying spaghetti monster, I would be able to run those same concepts through the exact same line of reasoning, and thus prove that the celestial teapot is what justifies and substantiates the natural laws and the laws of logic.
That would mean that it is impossible to rationally reject Christianity. And I think that's the most powerful argument that one can put forth, because the entire aim of apologetics is to rationally defend the faith.
See what I mean? We're only a few minutes away from the end of this guy's video, and it doesn't hold any justification for the first premise, only assuming it's correct and valid. I didn't bother with the presuppositionalist arguments like you need to run tag. Instead, what I did was I tried to write a syllogism to justify atheism from presuppositionalist apologetics. This way, when a presupper starts a conversation and begins, I give them my syllogism and see if they can poke a hole in it, since they think the Christian God is a necessary being. Premise 1. If God necessarily exists, it is necessary that he exists for any and all facts in logical worlds. Premise 2. If God necessarily exists, he is always truth-revealing. Now, no self-respecting Christian would deny these two things. To deny them allows us to just skip the next two premises. Premise 3. Descartes' demon is a logical scenario where any chance to refute the demon can be responded to with things like the demon made you think that, or the demon made you see that, or similar arguments. Premise 4. Descartes' demon does not always tell the truth. The only two truths in that possible world are the demon exists and I exist in some way. The conclusions are as follows. Descartes' demon poses a possible world that does not need an all-necessary God to exist, only the demon. Since conclusion 1 does not need God to exist, there's now a logical contradiction in the first two premises. Since this shows a logical contradiction and shows a world where God is not necessary to exist. And since there is a possible world where God is not necessary, it is justified to not believe in the presuppositionalist God. So yes, I'm justified in rejecting the claims made by Tag, and Tag requires a justification of the first premise that does not include just presupposing that Christianity is true. That being said, you must accept the transcendental argument for dog.
You cheeky dickwaffle!
For now, I am Corsi, and this is the Fluffy Teapotist. Pet those like and subscribe buttons. Blessed be the teapot, and remember, if you faith around, I will help you find out what your Bible truly says.